Hi everybody, and welcome back to Hello, It's Best to Talk. And this week we're going to be talking with the lovely Clare Willetts of Not Only Pink and Blue. Now, Claire's got a backstory which I'm thrilled to be sharing with you, and it's really about how we can, kids can kind of get really stereotyped into blues, and blue for boys, pink for girls. Actually, I'm realizing that I'm wearing blue today, but then I kind of think I've got a male brain anyway, so I might look like a woman, but inside there's something about the male brain for me. But I think the great thing that Claire's offering is a different way of not only being able to dress our children, but what toys they have and kind of what underlying messages there are there. So hi Claire, great to have you on the show.
Lovely to be here.
Lovely. So tell us all about why you decided to do this. What was important, and I mean, do you have children yourself?
Yep, I've got two children, two girls actually, but this was before I had children actually that I kind of started on this kind of journey. And it's funny because I look back and the reality is at 13 years old, I was frustrated with the uniform policy at school because we
were all in brown.
Yeah. So not colourful for a start. Yeah. At least we had some colour, but we had to wear grey box pleat skirts that were below the knee. And at the time, our sports hall was leaking. We had to sit on the floor of the sports hall for assemblies. It was, we were sitting there trying to avoid the drips in a skirt. It was cold, all those types of things. And so I decided, well, we need to change this. Why can't we wear trousers? This is ridiculous. So petition the headmaster.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and got the uniform policy changed. So girls could wear trousers. So when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, this has been part of me for quite a long time actually, and that kind of idea of equality and fairness and all of those things. So actually, it started a long time ago, I would say, but where it really kind of the pivotal moment, I was out buying clothes for friends who were starting to have children at that point. And I walked into this world that I kind of knew was there, right? But it was stark. It was pink and blue. And I was like, well, I don't want to buy pink. I don't want to buy blue. But I also don't want to buy grey or bunnies. And they were my other options. So I started out, where are the colourful things for kids? That's where I started. And then at the time I was working at Saatchis, I was a managing partner there. And I was having a lot of conversations on a daily basis about where are the senior females, not just for our company, but for other companies. So I had some big clients who were doing women in business initiatives and things like that. But at the same time, we also had government and charity clients, and they were telling us that they were seeing the highest young male suicide rate they'd ever seen. And so we were tackling these things at adult level. But at that point, I was starting to have my own children. So I was doing research into kids. Is this pink blue thing something I'm just, there's no need to worry about. It's just some colours. And what I started to find was actually this pink blue is the shortcut for all the stereotypes, unfortunately. And those stereotypes do have an effect. And girls are losing their confidence by around 7 years old. Actually, boys' emotional literacy isn't anywhere near as good as girls. And actually what you find is that parents don't use emotional language with boys. And they get to the point where, there have been some studies that show that the only kind of emotion they do or can talk about is anger. And so you start to go, okay, well, that's kind of worrying. And then you look at all the other things. So you look at aspirations, some studies have been done into what happens to kids' aspirations, and actually they become quite stereotypical even by the age of 7. So actually we're kind of limiting them, and that's what they do. Those kind of shortcut, that pink blue, kids start to understand once they understand, am I a girl or a boy? And those divides are there. So you go into a shop, it's very clear. Or you go online and you have to filter. And lots of people don't realise, because why would you? You're not going to spend your time going to either side of the shop or refiltering. That actually, that is limiting your choice. And therefore it's limiting your children's choice. So the idea for Not Only Pink and Blue came from, let's not have girl boy filters. Let's get rid of those and just open up all the choice to all children. And so therefore everything on the site is for all children. And that's kind of the premise.
That's really interesting. And one of the things you touched on, Claire, there is something that's really close to my heart, which is about the increased rate of male suicide. I mean, as we know, the rate of suicide, there are 3 men that take their lives as opposed for every 1 woman, although I think that may be slightly changing at the moment. But so these underlying messages that are there. I mean, I remember you showing me there's like a little babygrow thing for a boy, and it said, "Lock up your daughters."
Yes.
So that this message of males being aggressive starts when they cannot even, they can't even talk. I was horrified about that because and it was like something that I just felt has just been zinging past me all my life. I mean, I do think, there's this whole thing about nature versus nurture, but the unconscious things that we have.
Yeah.
And I can remember with my son, Will, I didn't let him have a gun, and when he was young at all.
Yeah.
But then he picked up a little statue of a church tower with a steeple, turned it around and went bang bang,
made it into a gun.
See, and how did he know that when he was only just able to formulate words?
I think it's interesting because what we forget is that there's so much influence out there, and these stereotypes are everywhere, to the point where it doesn't matter even if you're hyper aware like I am, and lots of the people who kind of work in my area, you still think and do things that you go, oh, damn it, I shouldn't have done that, because I know that that's not the right thing to think or say or whatever. But actually, because it's so ingrained, it's, every book, every fairy tale, every story, look at cartoons, look at the ads that come on television, look at the way that people talk around children. You'll hear all of these phrases and sayings. The language we use, even our facial expressions, the way that we react to kids having certain toys and things like that, all of those things make a difference and add up. And all the small things, as we know, they all add together in any situation, in anything. And actually, that all becomes the influence.
Okay. So you do different clothes, you do wonderful show us one of your toys.
So I've got a few here. Okay. So this is Hearty Hope.
Okay.
She's also got a basketball kit and a football kit on the site as well. We've got fabulous books. So things like some actual stereotype busting type ones. So my mummy's a scientist, and we've got my daddy is a nurse and things like that. My mummy's a firefighter. And then we've got really lovely books that teach you as well. So this is all about the ocean and how important the ocean is and kind of clearing up the ocean. But they're beautiful kind of picture books. It's a relationship or friendship that this girl makes with a whale. And so really nice things like that. And then all the way to some like really fab shoes they are hand printed, handmade, or printed to order and handmade. So really lovely kind of canvas shoes for kids as well. So books, toys and clothes. I was thinking, have I got any of the clothes? I've got a babygrow t-shirt up here. Little nice little message. It's cool to be kind. So some really lovely t-shirts as well.
So that's great. So people can find you. I mean, we'll drop links down below. About how to find you. But what do you think that there are 3 key messages that we need to think of as parents for our children? What would you identify those in terms of how we talk to them? Because this channel is all about how we talk. What's important?
So we really need to think about our language and use language. So we need to think about how much we talk to boys and girls about things. So a recent study that's come out shows that parents tend to talk to their little boys more about numbers than girls. So they'll count more with boys. They'll do more of those types of things. And they certainly use less emotional language and fewer words with, less emotional, fewer words with boys. So actually those types of things really important. So try and be conscious of that. It's hard because, again, it's all quite ingrained, all these things. But really important, obviously, talk to your kids. Emotional literacy, really, really important, as much as we can get them, both girls and boys, to understand, the emotions and things like that.
So when you say emotional literacy, do you mean to say what are you feeling now, or is
identifying
identifying feelings, and so starting to learn the language of feelings.
Yes, the language of all the different emotions, being able to identifying it and knowing that you can kind of use and move through that emotion as well. So you know, this is both for adults and kids, there's a real kind of negative about anger. And it's like, well, actually anger is normally because it's come out of something else, so maybe a bit of frustration or something else. But actually anger can be a really, really catalyzing emotion. And certainly in adults, it can really drive change if you know how to channel it, and if you know how to kind of move through it and go, right, actually it's passion, right? That can be a passion. So how do you use those and how do you channel them? Yeah, some of those things. I think choice is the biggest thing. So be aware that there are going to be influences. The likelihood is your children will, of course, fall into the stereotype at some point. For some things, for other things they won't. But that's just the nature of how it is, and their minds will change and all of those things. But don't demonize that either. So offer the choice that's there. Make sure that the toys are kind of in a mixture. There isn't like a kind of girl's toy side and a boy's toy side, a bit like a shop, which often happens. You know, you've got dolls and the kitchen and the cleaning stuff all together. And then over there, you've got the cars and the footballs. And so, you know, try and offer a different range of things. And I think the biggest thing is because pink and blue become the shortcut. And actually what happens is pink almost becomes a negative. So we can see it. Girl is often used as a pejorative. Girly is used as a pejorative. So we have to be very careful of that type of language. And I always ask people, so you'll quite often hear it, although it quite often slides us by, but you can quite often hear it that people will say, oh, God, he's such a girl, or that was so girly. And I always say to people, can you replace that word for me? What would you use if you didn't use girly or girl in that sentence? And it's normally something negative. I mean, I haven't actually ever had someone say anything positive to me, but it's normally, you know, pathetic or slow or ridiculous, or, you know, it's all of those types of things. So actually we've got to be really mindful of that, because what we're doing is saying that being a girl or doing anything kind of girly, as it were, is not a good thing. We don't want that to be negative, nor do we want pink to be negative. We want all of those things to be empowered as well. So it's an awful lot to think about, I know, and I really kind of feel for people and all of us, because, you know, it feels a bit overwhelming sometimes, but actually the littlest things make a massive difference. So books and language, brilliant thing to do with your kids. Ask them questions. Don't get rid of your fairy tales, use them. And kids are brilliant at this. You know, what's fair in the story? What's not fair? You know, do we think it's right that person, you know, did that, or they're only waiting for someone to come along? Who would you want to be? How would you change the ending? You know, all of those things, brilliant conversations for small kids, and they get it. And what they start to do with that is they start to question. And that's what you want. You want your kids to go out, and when someone says to them, I don't know, in the playground, girls can't play football or boys can't have long hair or whatever it might be, that they can go, well, that's not true, is it? Is that really the truth? Because I've seen this, or I've read this, or I've been to see, you know, women's football or whatever it might be, that they've got a tangible kind of thing to go, that might not be the truth. That might be something else. And that for me is the key thing, is helping them recognize that actually that limitation isn't there for them if they don't want it to be.
Okay, Claire, that's wonderful. I think for all of us, actually, the whole art of refining questions is so important in the way that we live our lives, and the better the questions are that we have.
Yes.
If we don't always have the answers, it helps us live our lives so much better.
Yeah.
So Claire, thank you so much for being on Hello, It's Better to Talk, and thank you all for sticking with us and listening to this, and we hope you'll find it really useful. So pop any comments down at the bottom, hit the subscribe button. We'd love you to subscribe, and see you next week on Hello, It's Better to Talk on Wednesdays at noon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.